While we're waiting, I'll say a few shout outs from the Daltons in Idaho. Hello. Let's see. What do we have here? Yeah, feel free to say where you're watching from. We'll get started momentarily. Juan Felipe is on his way. Our first guest speaker. Let's see. A few people calling in. Yeah, sorry for the silence. We are here. We're starting soon. Andrea Benvenisti, hello. It's so good to see your name here and knowing you're watching. Angie Dell, Brian Bender, they're all in Arizona.
Oh, Jackie, God. That's a beautiful idea to have folks write in the chat where they're listening in from.
Yeah, wow. Okay, whoa. I'm gonna struggle to keep up here. Washington, D.C., hello. That's Chris Nealon, Jason Watts, my cousins, they're in Placentia, California, Victoria McCoy, Los Angeles, Sacramento. You are all the best. I'm feeling so much love right now. Dave Sherry, Bloomfield Hills, Minnesota, I think. It's my Aunt Lisa. Let's see, Dana Deal, Stephanie, Grace Turner. You guys are awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I'm thrilled that you are all here. My sister Elizabeth and her husband Jonathan are having a little watch party with a few neighbors in Houston. So hello, thanks for tuning in. All right, 50 messages. I cannot keep up with this. Kit Keller. This is awesome.
Well, let's let the wild rumpus begin.
All right.
Okay. So let's see. Gonna work on.
I can turn off my video and sound, and panelists can do likewise, I guess.
Yeah, that would be great, except it's sad to have your sparkles go anywhere at all, but you'll be back. All right. So I would love to get a thumbs up that everything's working fine and that you can see me as you're listening. So Alberto is nodding. I think that all is well. All right, so I want to get us started in this beautiful evening together. I want to start by welcoming you all to our book launch celebration for Jacqueline Balderrama and her new Perugia press book, Now in Color. Here it is. I am Rebecca Olander. I'm the editor and director of Perugia Press, and we are so pleased to gather with everyone who is listening in to mark the arrival of this important collection. Our evening together will unfold as a kind of map of the journey of Jackie's book, as reflected by her poetry mentors along the way, Juan Felipe Herrera, Sally Ball, and Alberto Rios. We will hear about her from her work with each of them, and we'll hear original poetry from each of them, as well as a poem they've each chosen as a favorite from Now in Color. Finally, I'll introduce Jackie and we'll hear her read from her book. Our program runs for an hour and 15 minutes, and while we won't see you as audience members, as Jackie has already said, we feel and appreciate your presence so much, and you're encouraged to comment in the chat. If you're just coming in, please let us know where you're listening in from. And you can respond to the poems as you're hearing them, to the readings, to everything that's being said, and that really helps the poets to feel like they have a live audience listening in. If you're new to Zoom, just so you know, the chat button is in the bottom of your Zoom screen. And that's where you can send messages, Valentine's. My co-host, Perugia board member Beverly Army Williams, will be adding official poet bios and links to buy their books into the chat as well. The best way to support poets and the small presses that publish them is to buy their books. And books make great holiday gifts. So the holidays are coming up, and to that end, if you buy Now in Color tonight, using the discount code Dia de los Muertos, it will take 20% off of your cover price, and the books will be shipped with book plates signed by Jackie. So a way to make it feel like we're really together and having a book signing for this special occasion for her. So welcome all. And without further ado, I want to turn the mic over to Jackie to introduce our first special guest.
Hi, everyone. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much, Becky, and everyone who's here. Your warm messages, they're just warming my heart right now. I'm so thrilled. So feel free to share in the chat as we go through something that strikes you or something just to celebrate. I hope you are all staying safe and healthy and have voted or are about to do so tomorrow. I'm truly overwhelmed by the generosity of our guest speakers joining me here tonight to celebrate my book. In many ways, it feels like we have representatives from each of the places I've called home, California and Arizona tonight. It's through these writers and teachers that this book exists today, and I'm so, so grateful. So we are waiting on Juan Felipe Herrera, who we will have as our second reader. And I'm going to start by introducing our first guest, Sally Ball. All right. Let's see. All right. Sally Ball is the author of 3 books of poems, Hold Sway, Wreck Me, and Annus Mirabilis, all with Barrow Street Press. And her long poem, Hold, was made into an award-winning artist book by Czech printmaker Jan Vicker. A professor of English at Arizona State University, Ball is also an associate director of 4-Way Books and teaches in the MFA program for writers at Warren Wilson College. Ball's writing practices mindfulness attuned to our changing world. In her book, Hold Sway, we follow reflective threads from daily tasks to the communal acknowledgement of crisis and our struggle to enact lasting change. I'm drawn to the speaker's directness, and especially the way she grapples with the scales at which we live and the scales of much larger issues we are moved to address. Always, I feel I find myself within these questions too, of what to do when we are moved. The voice here allows us to sit with these observations and the choices we make and to look beyond them. So I met Sally during my MFA at Arizona State University, and I was fortunate enough to work under her guidance when I was first starting to teach poetry, and relieved to find that I love to teach. Your mentorship, Sally, oh, thanks. It's nice to see you. And if Becky wants to turn off her camera, then we could just have us too. Working on a few little glitches, but I think, this is going great. Let's see, where was I? So your mentorship in my teaching and writing were a true gift. I also distinctly remember one conversation we had in your office in which you were sharing with me this sort of like this strange simultaneity of things, how all these events can be happening in the world, good and bad, maybe mostly bad, or at least that's what we're focusing on, and how someone can also just have a good day. And I feel like that's what's happening here tonight. We're kind of just communing, being together, celebrating, despite what may be happening all around us. And I think we need that too. So thank you so much for being here in this moment. I will welcome Sally Ball to everyone. And thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jackie. This is a delightful way of doing this, and I appreciate Perugia very much and Jackie very much. And I don't know, I'm looking forward to the whole thing. So I'm going to read a couple poems of mine, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Jackie and read one of hers. This first poem presented itself as oddly tonight-ish. It's called Sieverts and Jewels. Maybe there's a new way to be nuclear, not using rods with their troublesome, impermanent cladding, their uncoolable fuel, a new way to make less waste and reuse the waste too. Not maybe, this is in the world, waiting to be confirmed and approved, refined, waiting to be allowed to open up some air. Maybe then it's okay to love the world, or to love it and not immediately crumple up in fear. Sieverts and jewels. The sieverts terrify, exist only to measure fatal exposure. 8 sieverts mean you will die, sometime between 10 minutes and 2 days from the moment at 8 or above. First, severe vomiting, severe headache, severe fever, incapacitation. Sieverts and jewels, these beautiful words for power, for the creation of motion, for the danger of power, propulsion. To move is to touch. A sievert is a deadly jewel. But maybe we can retool, rethink, make energy more safely, because we want to love the world, despite the easy living imposed dormancy. Foucault told us, so did First Bush. Imposed dormancy in which we buy corn syrup and drive home to some dragons and incest TV. While we watch, we hold smaller blue lights in our hands, like nesting Russian dolls of connectivity, except those dolls, eventually the last one is a stone. I am a teacher. I lather them up about openness and aliveness and not drinking the corn syrup, but also I have spent the last 10 years powering down. I smell this foreign laundry, this other sweater, the air full of wood smoke and rain. The cooling towers in the distance, sending out steam in a Cheshire whirl, saying, what about a new way? You can fear the world or love it, right? If you are free. If you aren't, you would probably think, if you ever even came to hear it, that this observation was not a bit obtuse, but lame, oblivious. Still, the freest people are often the most fearful. Too much to lose. If you believe you have power, you have to prove it in love, which I recognize as a principle essential to Christian thought, if not practice. So measure your sieverts and measure the jewels, and can we please do real things? Can we choose instead of pray? I can't make myself be good, but maybe. That second to last line is actually from a song by Jason Isbell. So I picked this poem to read in a night that celebrates Jackie because it shares two things with her work. One is that it's about 2 paintings, and she has this terrific series about Picasso paintings in the book. And it's also about language, and the language that lives in us, even when we don't always understand it. This is called Some Verses. Light versus dark. Lyric versus discursive. Language versus disco. Lark versus dodo. There it is. Song and extinction. Bits and zeros lay down each warbled track. Like to the lark at break of day. First poem I ever had by heart. 30 years now of my swimming in its DNA, it swimming in mine. From sullen earth sings hymns at heaven's gate. For the record, the lyric isn't just compression like those running tights. The lyric loves a thought inside a frame. Arrival, then containment. A canvas stretched so taut, it pushes light away. Arising. Look at Senju's 2 paintings, vast black and whites, one the daunting mountain with its shadow cops, a hiking story, the sublime, the other an abstraction, X-ray of maybe what a thought looks like, what distraction looks like, spilling its white smoke, its wet white smoke in rivulets. Smoke falls, it wafts, it blocks our easy looking toward the dark. We shuffle up identities in order to stay alive here. The mind's keen eye goes in toward the faraway dense dark, but never fully passes through the veil. What we want and how we're separate from that, which makes it possible to want at all, it all. The veil of what else, what else? I see you. That's what this painting says to whoever looks. Not mirror, not yet. It just sees me or you, and lets us know, haply I think on thee. The mountain is discursive. It's even a story. Each crag qualifies some detail, adds plot or texture, admits or claims a point of view, whereas the X-ray of attention, that's the lyric utterance, abstract, seducing by usurpment of my mind. My mind is mine, then Senju's, then mine, then his. And then my state, for thy sweet love, such wealth brings. But we don't scorn to change our state with kings, not for love and not for money. In fact, we like to disappear and to identify. And art incites such eagerness to relinquish self. Goodbye, goodbye, hello, hello, I planned that. I'm in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes. I all alone beweep. And now you see it too. The lyric makes it ours together, fuses us. Look, the dark, anyone can say it's there. Anyone can point. What frightens us is all that mediation, all that filtered light. The song of my pending extinction permits my staying alive. Staying alive. Ah, 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 ah. Okay, this I preemptively chose because I don't have a poem called Can You Hear My Telephone, but I do have a poem called Can You Hear My Dog? If so, my apologies. He's bouncy. He's talking to the mutt next door about interest rates and gun control and diabetes. He knows most Americans are less bouncy than he is. He's worried for our arteries. 63% of you are obese, he says loudly over the fence to women with jog bras and strollers with mud flaps. But he can't see them, doesn't know how hard they are already working. The fence is tall cinder blocks, so he can't know what lucky even looks like, lucky to the north, and the digger next door, whose name we don't know, to the west. Yappity yap. And then I'm going to read one last short poem of my own. It's called Armistice Day, and we're just a little bit shy of Armistice Day. So now comes the moment before darkness, when the river is the sky's purple mirror, and the riverbank goes dark. Everything melts into nothing save the light that faces itself, as if it had come to an understanding, as if it were listening to logic. Then very soon, there's nothing to see. Okay, this book. I'm going to read you guys a poem from the book. It's called In Bed with the Lion. It's one of my favorites. It's also a poem that I did work on with Jackie when she was at ASU. And it's a poem that, since you're not seeing it, I'm going to preface it for you a little bit by telling you that it's after a photograph by Michael Rougier. And it's a picture of Melanie Griffith when she was a kid. So not like working girl Melanie Griffith, but like freckly, I don't know, 9-year-old Melanie Griffith, whose mother was Tippi Hedren, the Hitchcock actress. And they had lions for pets. And so in these photographs, there's little Melanie snuggling with this giant maned lion, in bed with the lion. They sleep, each covered by the red blanket. Lion's tail plumes out from under like the thick cord of a church bell. Or they are awake, watching each other be still. They compare hair and nails against the rosebud print of the sheets. Or they are pretending to sleep, one hiding from her mother, one from its nature, which has never left. They lie quiet, as if dead. Or one is awake, watching the other sleep, considering the live-in trainer's request that mother, daughter, and lion use their inside voices. Or they are waiting for the photographer, waiting for the pool, where she can pull lion's paws through her wet hair like a heavy brush. Or, since the lion is apparently named Neil, they like to believe in a world that would allow such things. And you can imagine that one of the things I love about this poem is the ors, right? The alternatives, the looking first from here and then from over there and then from another angle. This really draws me to the poem, and it also shows us Jackie's imagination in the metaphors and in replying to the photographs with her visual artist's eye. And also in this poem, we see in the speaker the furrowed brow of someone thinking about parents letting their child feel so safe in proximity to a dangerous creature. And that's a skepticism that appears elsewhere in the book, sometimes very subtly as here, and other times, very directly, as the speaker of these poems in this book called Now in Color, think about increasingly what it means to claim identity and recognize identity in a context where invisibility has been an option or something like that. So anyways, it was a huge pleasure to see the whole book as an object, and it was a big pleasure to be thinking about it a long, long time ago with Jackie. And thank you all for letting me come tonight. Good night.
Thank you so much, Sally. That was delightful. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up, we're gonna have Alberto Rios. So Tito, get ready to turn on your camera and mic, but let me introduce you first. Let's see. Oh, Tito, perfect. It's like I'm talking to you. This is delightful. Wasn't that wonderful, everyone, with Sally? And now we're getting graced by Alberto Rios. I'm overwhelmed. Okay, so Alberto Rios, Arizona's inaugural poet laureate and a recent chancellor of the Academy of American Poets, was born in Nogales, Arizona, and he has written from that geographical and sociological perspective for 5 decades. His 12 collections of poetry include Not Go Away Is My Name and The Smallest Muscle in the Human Body, a finalist for the National Book Award from Copper Canyon Press. He has also written 3 short story collections, a memoir, and a new picaresque novel entitled A Good Map of All Things. Rios is the host of the PBS program Art in the 48 and has taught at Arizona State University since 1982. In 2017, he was named director of the Virginia G. Piper Center for Creative Writing. Rios's writing, like his teaching, I might add, has an infectious energy and an instilling message. I admire the music and crafted simplicity of his line and the way in which he takes us by the hand to celebrate new ways of seeing or to face the difficult truths that have led to much suffering. In his new book, Not Go Away Is My Name, I am reminded of the vividness with which Rios writes. We find ourselves eating watermelon with salt or attending a baseball game on the border or with the voices of migrant children. Here, colors bloom. We're reminded of what's at stake. So I also met Tito while I was at Arizona State and worked under his mentorship on the mandate. Juan Felipe, you're here. And you're bombing Tito's introduction. We will get to you next. So you can go ahead and turn off your video and camera. I'm so thrilled that you are here.
Okay.
Got style and necklaces. It's awesome. So sorry about that, Tito. Let's see, where were we? Let's see. Okay. I also met Tito at Arizona State and worked under his mentorship under this manuscript, now called Now in Color. It was like the queen of Technicolor when I was with you at that point. So being in your magical realism class and your workshops in many ways, I think, brought the study and perspective necessary to approach some of the more difficult poems that engage with witness. That and your advice that every line should be your best line are lessons I hold close. Thank you so much for celebrating with me today. I'm thrilled that you are here, and I will turn the screen, I guess, over to you.
Jackie, it's wonderful to see you, but maybe better said, it's hard not to see you. So I miss you. I think we all do. I am so happy to be here today. I want to say, bienvenidos to todos. This is a difficult day. This is Dia de los Muertos, a big thing in my family, I know for a lot of people. But I'm going to start first by talking about Jackie a little bit, since she was talking about me. And I want to say, I have just been so impressed to see a life voyage in action. She has been so concerned the whole time I've known her with the nature of legacy and heritage. It's blossomed almost as she's moved forward so that she understands what it's going to be like to move forward into the future. But in that process, she has never failed to be alive in the present. And I think that's the thing I've enjoyed most about working with her, with you. And so it's going to be a little bit ironic that I'm going to begin with a poem that goes backward, that I believe is from your grandfather, a story from him. But I think that's part of what helps to define you in very, very big ways. It's not just you. It's never just been you. It's you and those who have been around you, who have been part of the complexity of your voyage. And I respect that. So I'm going to read USS Randolph, damaged, 1945. Decades after glimpsing the suicide dive from your nearby merchant ship, you read how 24 Francis bombers left Formosa. Due to poor navigation, only 2 arrived. For a moment, you imagine 22 pilots descending through the darkening net of water shadows until colors go as far as they can. 2 planes against 500 ships. In the reverse image, you might never have known, might never have been. You remember how easy it was to slip overboard. At a union meeting, one fellow said, "If I disappear, I want to let you know who is after me." What was left of the story shuddered along the coast without notice for 40 years. You watched your children grow, their families too. When veteran benefits arrive in 1988, you say, "Too late for any more school." And your ship, found in the names of vacation rentals on a Florida peninsula, the Cape San Blas, now likely metal repurposed in the sides of other ships. I remember reading that first time and being quite moved by it, and thinking, that ship, that story, how it moved from the intensity of being the moment itself to now being part of other moments, part of something else. And it struck me that that's a particularly fitting poem to read on this day. And I'm going to read a poem of my own about this day, Dia de los Muertos. It's called November 2nd, Dia de los Muertos. 1. It's not simply the Day of the Dead, loud and parties. More quietly, it is the day of my dead, the day of your dead. These days, the neon of it all, the big teeth laughing skulls, the posed calacas and catrinas and happy dead people doing funny things, it's all in good humor. And sometimes I can't help myself. I laugh out loud too. But I miss my father. My grandmother has been gone almost so long, I can't hold her voice with my ears anymore. Not easily. My mother-in-law, she's still here, still in things packed in boxes, her laughter on videotape and in conversations. Our dog died several years ago, and I try to say his name whenever I leave the house. You take care of this house now, I say to him, the way I always have, the way he knows. I grew up with the trips to the cemetery and the pan de muerto, the prayers and the favorite foods, the carne asada, the beer. But that was in the small town where my memory still lives. Today, I'm in the big city, and that small town feels far away. 2. The Day of the Dead. It's really the Days of the Dead. All Saints' Day, the 1st of November, also called Dia de los Angelitos. Everybody thinks it's the Day of the Dead, but it's not exactly. This first day is for those who have died a saint, and for the small innocents, the criaturas, the tender creatures who've been taken from us all, sometimes without a name. To die a saint deserves its day, to die a child. The following day, the 2nd of November, this is for everybody else who has died, And there are so many. A grandmother, a father, a distant uncle or lost cousin. It's hard enough to keep track even within one's own family. But the day belongs to everyone. So many home altars, so many parents gone, so many husbands, so many Aunt Normas, so many Connies and Matildes, countless friends. Still, by the end of the day, we all ask ourselves the same thing. Isn't this all over yet? 3. All these dead coming after and so close to Halloween. The days all start to blend. The goblins and princesses of a miniature world, not so different from the ways in which we imagine those who are gone. Their memories smaller, their clothes brighter. We want to feed them only candy too. So much candy that our own mouths will get hypnotized by the sweetness, our own eyes dazzled by the color, our noses by the smells the first cool breath of fall makes, a fire always burning somewhere out there. We feed our memories, and then, humans that we are, we just want to move quickly away from it all, happy for the richness of everything, if unsettled by the cut pumpkins and gourds, the howling decorations, the marigolds, cempasúchiles. If it rains, they stink, these fussy flowers of the dead. Bread of the dead, day of the dead. It's hard to keep saying the word. 4. The dead. They take over the town like beach vacationers, returning tourists, getting into everything. I had my honeymoon here, they say, and are always full of contagious nostalgia. But it's all right. They go away after a while. They go, and you miss them all over again. The papel picado, the cut blue and red and green paper decorations, the empanadas and coconut candy, the boxes of cajeta, saladitos, which make your tongue white like a ghost's. You miss all of it soon enough. Pictures of people smiling, news stories, all the fiestas, all this exhaustion, the coming night, the sweetbreads, the bone tiredness of too much. Loud noise, loud colors, loud food, mariachis, even just talking. It's all a lot of noise, but it belongs here. The loud is to help us not think, to make us confuse the day and our feelings with happiness. Because, you know, if we do think about our dead, wherever they are, we'll get sad and begin to look across the table at each other. Well, I thought about that, especially after I saw the papel picado in the background, Jackie there. So I think it was a perfectly appropriate a poem. A little sad, I know, but I think this is a big day in that way. And I know there's a lot going on tomorrow. So I want to read a second poem, a bridge poem between that sadness and I don't know what you call tomorrow. I don't know how we're going to feel about it, what's going to happen. But I was thinking about it a long time ago. I wrote this poem, and when I wrote it, the title did not mean what it means today. So it kind of makes me laugh. The title is Don't Go Into the Library. The library is dangerous. Don't go in. If you do, you know what will happen. It's like a pet store or a bakery. Every single time you'll come out of there holding something in your arms. Those novels with their big eyes and wagging tails, those no nonsense, all muscled Dobermans, all nonfiction and business, cuddly when they're young, but then the first page is turned and no turning back. And all those sleek, fast, beautiful greyhounds, poems, the donut scent of it all, knowledge. the aroma of coffee being made in all those books, something for everyone, the daily offerings of civilization itself. The library is the book of books. Its concrete and wood and glass covers, keeping within them the very big, very long story of everything. The library is dangerous, full of answers. If you go inside, you may not come out the same person who went in. Well, on this day, I want to thank Perugia, Becky and Beverly for helping put Jackie's book into the world. I think it's such a wonderful addition. It is an exploration, as I've said, of, I think, legacy and heritage aimed not backward, but toward the future. And Jackie and her smile, I think, are constant evidence of that, and they never waver. So Jackie, I'm very happy to be here tonight celebrating with you and with these panelists.
Thank you, Tito, and thank you for reading your Dia de los Muertos poem. We did have a question about which book that appears in. Could you tell
That
us?
is in A Small Story About the Sky.
There you go. I think that was Janet who asked that question. That was beautiful. I really appreciate you being here with me. It was a journey at ASU, and one that I don't forget. And I feel like I sort of see the work that we did in workshops in your class and in others sort of written across this book too. I can like point to a moment I was like, this is where Tito said, oh, maybe you should do this or something to that effect. But thank you. I really appreciate you being here.
I remember those moments too. So thank you, Jackie.
You're welcome. All right. Well, I can invite Tito to turn off his camera, and I will go ahead and introduce Juan Felipe Herrera, our final special guest of the evening. Juan Felipe Herrera is a performance artist, activist, and author of numerous books published in poetry, spoken word, novels for young adults, and collections for children. He served as U.S. Poet Laureate from 2015 to 2017 and is a recipient of awards and fellowships, including 2 Latino Hall of Fame Poetry Awards, Penn West Poetry Award, UC Berkeley Regents Fellowship, and National Endowments for the Arts Fellowships, among others. Professor Emeritus of Creative Writing at UC Riverside, where I met him, and CSU Fresno. He has served on the Board of Chancellors of the Academy of American Poets. Herrera's poetry balances a playful openness and care with focused intensity. His most recent collection, Every Day We Get More Illegal, lets us travel into the difficult and necessary conversations on belonging in a wake of injustice, division, and the suffering at our southern border. I am moved by the delicacy in his attention to detail, by the fervor of his call to action, and the hope he instills in who we can become. I had the pleasure of meeting Juan Felipe in my first semester as an undergraduate at UC Riverside. And I think that was like my first class I attended of college. And what a gift it was. So he was my first poetry professor. And I credit that experience as really the start of my poetry studies and eventually this book. I am so grateful for the welcome, enthusiasm, and kindness he had then and that he continues to emanate today. So Juan Felipe, I would invite you to turn on your microphone and your camera and welcome all to Juan Felipe Herrera. Juan Felipe, are you there?
The camera is not.
The camera's not working. Oh, there we are. It's lovely to see your face. I will turn it over to you.
Well, congratulations, Jackie, for such a beautiful book and a beautiful cover, and just such a great moment, as Tito has said. You know, a culmination of so many steps that you took, steps of creativity, steps of bravery, and just throwing yourself into the unknown. That's what it really is all about. That's what our life is all about. And you have been very brave. And I remember, I'm gonna go back in time a little bit. That first semester you're talking about, you know, in my class, and I said to myself, you know, Jackie has to be up on stage one way or another, and I would really like her to have that audience and to hear her voice in a large space with people, you know, listening to her. And you know, you did that. Remember, we did the Tomas Rivera conference, and we did like like an opera project for the Tomas Rivera conference at UC Riverside. And I was so happy that you went ahead and took that leap, and there you were on that stage and reading and performing and presenting, and now you're here. So congratulations to you one more time, una vez más, and to your familia, and to Tito for being a great professor, as he has always been, and poet, and your book now in color. I thought we were in color already, Jackie, but we're now in color too. I find it very warm, a very warm, positive, and embracing book, and a book that we all can pick up and immediately step into, and immediately enjoy, and immediately share it. It's like that. It's this kind of book. It's a book you pick up, read, share, enjoy, let it deepen into you, into your heart, and remember, and embrace, and love, which are not that those qualities are not that available these days. In our, even in our work, you know, I don't. The day that happens in one of my books, I will be very happy. It's difficult to get to happiness, and how it is in your book. So muchas gracias, and thank you so much. And many more books to come. Many more books to come. And congratulations to Perugia Press as well for taking your work on, and more books in the near future. So good to see you, and so good to see you smiling, and so good to see you zooming. And all of a sudden we're back where we started, but in a new planet, in a new world. So muchas gracias, Jackie. You've gone very far. And now I guess I'm just going to have to be in that audience. I'm in that audience now, Jackie, and you're up in the front. Que bueno. I just wrote a poem right now, you know, just like Tito was saying, as we all have been saying, where on earth are we? Where on earth are we now? You know, upside down, what is it? You know, it's like the thing to do now is just to hold steady. Is to hold steady, isn't it? To hold on to the deepest core of who we are, and to stay there. Otherwise, we're just going to slide off of the Titanic. This poem here is written in that manner, and it's titled "We're a Nation of Walls." I was thinking about that. The walls we did not expect. The walls, they were hidden behind the ancient walls. The ancient fences and borders our ancestors knew so well. Plywood is being hammered over storefront windows and fashion displays, walls around voting booths, and walls of flags on cars surrounding your campaign bus. You in there? Yes, we're in here. We forgot something. We didn't say. Something we stayed home too long. We looked away too long. We didn't know too long. We were comfortable too long. We forgot what a wall looks like. We became the walls. Our house of walls, our street of walls, our corner of walls, our table of walls. We became the walls, a nation of walls. Some of us felt protected. Some of us didn't notice. There's a wall of bodies. That can no longer speak. You must speak. This is called telling the truth. Telling the truth is called courage. Courage to tell the truth is called kindness. Kindness is called take a step for all, and the walls come down. So that one, Jackie, and everyone, I wrote it for this reading. I hope it qualifies somewhere in the workshop. I know Tito's going to send me back with a lot of notes. And that's good. That's good. Once again, congratulations so much. I feel so happy, and I feel so happy for everyone and for Tito that we're here in a circle of family, a circle of celebration, a circle of embracing and friendship, a circle that's so easy to make, and yet it's so difficult for so many at this time. So let us send our best wishes to everyone to heal, to continue to live, and of solace for those who have left, who have lost their dearest, dearest, dearest ones. This is from Every Day We Get More Illegal. It's just the way it is, isn't it? But every day we also get stronger and more joyous in our work and in our efforts to create joy and happiness and unity. We were the visible ones. We were the visible ones, then invisible. We were visible, ocean and geometry, ocelot and panther, then invisible, then deeper, invisible, then pyramid, then sulfur, then rainforest, audacious origin of strings, then the field grain of slaves, then visible, then lines of protest across tiny ranches and boulevards, then invisible ones, then offices of straw in the fires, then visible time, stone, light, and more light, twirlers, then the invisible ones, more sums and divisions, then visible for a moment. We existed, jaguars, sea mist, in between the cement, in between lorries and shackles, in between migrant torches. And again, I want to let me thank Elaine Katzenberger and Stacy Baldwin for really helping me get this book out. They've been so good, so good to me and to our writers at City Lights. Muchas gracias. I want to speak of unity. I want to speak of unity, that indescribable thing we have been speaking of since '67. When I first stepped into LA with a cardboard box luggage piece, I was distracted by you, your dances, askew and somersaults, the kind you see at shopping centers, in automobile super sales events, the horns and bayonets most of all. I wanted to pierce the density, the elixirs of everything, something like Max Beckmann did in that restaurant painting of 37 or 38, exiled from Germany, banned and blazing black jacket, that everything in a time of all things in collapse, that embrace, that particular set of syllables of a sudden attack, or just a breath of a song, the one I would hear back in the early 50s when I walked the barren earth with my mother and father, the sound of one when Luz still lived and Felipe still parted the land, and no one knew we existed in the fires, the flames that consume all of us now. Muchas gracias, querida Jackie, and everyone else. Thank you so much for bringing the word out and your heart and unity and love. Muchas gracias. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you, Juan Felipe.
Okay.
And I guess, yeah, I was thinking about the Tomas Rivera conference as well. My mom likes to bring it up. She was blown away. But yeah, that was a delightful experience and really nice to collaborate with you and participate in your imagination of what that conference could be. So
Yeah, I remember your mom and dad. It was good to see them, and you definitely.
thank you, Juan Felipe.
Welcome.
All right. I think we turn it over to Becky.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. What a beautiful evening so far, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to celebrate together with us, celebrate Jackie. And I'm just, it's been wonderful to hear you all. So.
And would you like us to turn off our cameras and microphones?
Sure, yes. That's
Okay.
great. I think we're good. Yeah, perfect. All right, so again, I'm Rebecca Olander. I am the Perugia editor, and I have the pleasure of formally introducing Jacqueline Balderrama, the winner of the 2020 Perugia Press Prize for her first full-length collection, Now in Color. Jackie lives and teaches in Salt Lake City, where she is a doctoral candidate in literature and creative writing at the University of Utah. She is also the author of the chapbook Nectar and Small, which came out from Finishing Line Press last year. And she is a poetry editor for Iron City Magazine and Quarterly West. Jackie has been involved in the Letras Latinas Literary Initiative, the ASU Prison Education Program, and the Wasatch Writers in the Schools. So we have gathered to celebrate Now in Color on Dia de los Muertos, which has been described as an explosion of color and of life-affirming joy, even as it marks the passing of loved ones. Jackie's book embodies all of this: color, joy, life, death, and remembering the living and the dead, as Tito said so well, who have led her to be the person and the poet that she is today. It was an honor to edit this book with Jackie and bring it into the world as a manifestation of her love and gratitude for her heritage and family, and as a final push after the good midwifery of the amazing mentors with whom she labored along the way, some of whom we have heard from tonight, others of whom are in the audience, and I know, Jackie, your circle is wide and beautiful. This book is artistic, it's loving, it's respectful, vibrant, serious, engaged, innovative, and beautiful. Its beauty stems from Jackie's poetic eye on her subject matter, from history to present day struggles at the border, to family, to old films, and to language itself. This beauty is also evident on the cover of the book. Just going to show this off a little bit. This was born of a concept created by Jackie herself and brought to life through the collaborative effort between our book designer, Jeff Potter, and myself and Jackie. And we at Perugia, we do try to make all of our books become books that our poets love. And this is just a really collaborative effort. So I wanted to point out the gorgeous cover as well. And this boy here is Jackie's grandfather in green, right here as a boy. So it definitely is her family story and pictured on the cover. All right, so yes, the photograph features him as a boy, and it's true to the spirit of the book in its nod to family and also the birth of Technicolor film, which is featured in several of the poems in the book. We are so thankful that Perugia could become the home for this collection, and I will not take 1 second longer to keep you from listening to the main event of Jackie reading from her first full-length collection, now in color. Felicidades, poet. I give you Jackie Balderrama.
Oh, Becky, it was such a journey with you over this summer, and hearing that the book was selected. Yeah, it was just sort of an unreal moment. But sort of your voice in the phone when I found out, and since then communicating about editing the book. Yeah, it's been a journey, and I have such appreciation for the work that publishers, presses do to make these pieces come to life in the physical form. So thank you so much. I have a long list of thank yous, and I mean, you're certainly at the top, Rebecca. I really appreciate this. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I do have a long list of acknowledgements in the book. I will just sort of list a few here. Obviously, Tito, Sally, Juan Felipe. This it's overwhelming. I couldn't have dreamed of a better night to celebrate this book. I'm so thrilled you're here with me. I feel your presence close to my heart, and also all the participants who've been chatting away. And I also got to see, you know, the names, and suddenly your face sort of pops into my mind. To have you here with me is really special. I was thinking, you know, like, Chewy, like, it would be nice if we get like 30 people to come to the book launch, because this feels really important to me. And to have, I think at one point, 128 is just, yeah, it's too much. Yeah, there's so much love here, and I really feel it. I really appreciate you being here to celebrate with me. And yeah, being a part of sort of the journey, though you may not know it, that has led to this book and in my studies and everything. So thank you all for being here. Thank you, Letras Latinas, Francisco Aragon's there. Thank you to all my schools I've been in for forever now, UCR, ASU, and University of Utah right now. It's so special to be celebrating with you all tonight. So now in color, I will go ahead and dive into this. I'm going to open with the first poem, and this piece is a Spanish definition poem, and the book is roughly broken up into Spanish definition poems, about 13 sections. You can see my notes there. And I didn't grow up speaking Spanish, but coming to terms with that and being Latina was part of the journey of this book. And so I wanted to reconnect with that language a bit more, and did so by offering sort of personal connections to these definitions of these words. And the first word is esperanza. Esperanza, noun, feminine. Migration is written on this green heartache of home, once its own discovery of water. The Aztecs Mextlico, meaning place in the center of the moon. Some are used to hopes being where they've been, but singing one octave is Kansas to Oz. For a while, my father didn't know the movie changed to Technicolor, since the family TV was black and white. Now in color. Migratory patterns of monarchs continue alongside gray wolves, armadillos, coyotes. Now paper, now papel, we learn to listen in different ways. And again, someone asks for the source of me, as if water could stop or would. Agents dress us in the terms of their casting calls, anonymous beneath the sombrero, or fiery Latina, or gardener, or alien, or drug lord. Now Maria Montez, Katie Gerardo, Rita Hayworth watch themselves in the funny mirror. And my mother shakes her head for the childhood dog the neighbors took in, then abandoned in the desert. Now the wildfires on the San Bernardino Mountains. At night, families set out lawn chairs to watch the flames. And a man electrifies his fences and shows the reporter large photos of bodies he's found beneath his trees. Now the radio is breathless. The television, like an escape portal, streams color through undraped windows. But inside, we are still here, fumbling to turn on the light or floating down in our chairs, wishing the room to unleash its plum, its marigold, the blue of our jeans, the white walls covered with frames. We peel heavy shadows from broomsticks, coils of rope, strangers, admitting somehow we can still have good days. Somewhere, desert poppies will grow with all of this and without it. This next piece was written after the California Senate Bill 670 enacting the Apology Act for the 1930s Mexican repatriation program. When it was estimated that 2 million people of Mexican ancestry were forcibly relocated back to Mexico across the US, and approximately 1.2 million were born in the US. And in California alone, 400,000 are estimated to have been American citizens or legal residents. So this poem speaks to that Apology Act. Fragmented Apology, 2006. When the knocking comes, county agents are on the porch telling Mexicans, you should go in 2 weeks. Here are the tickets. Here's your destination. In raids, hundreds at La Placita Park detained for papers, vans idling in the peripheries while their children at school wait. And threats for some families are real enough to leave. How can this be called voluntary as a heartbreak, as a life packed and thrown across the hills? Who knew and said nothing, and still says nothing? Who went turning off the house lights because no one was home? Imagine the people in the train car, the girl whispering the moon is following her, to the make-believe town become real, become vacant looks on her parents' eyes. In reflection, a little oasis of nothing. And you, lucky to know someone or not. Some can speak the language or can't. One woman must paint her belonging until there's a bridge and in the distance, a steeple. My uncle Francisco Balderrama has written a lot on that subject and has a book out, called Decade of Betrayal. So if you're interested in learning more, I turn you over to that. All right. Oh, my Tony Balderrama, my dad's cousin is here. Oh, it's so nice to have family here watching. It feels in a way like a big reunion. Thank you for being here. All right. Relato. Relato. Noun, feminine. Fragments underwater and distant gleam like starfish, sure to dry into brittle, pale selves. I've learned to collect what's scattered, learned to set them here on the chance odd ends whisper. So I wrote this book having done some interviews with my paternal grandfather, who's watching now. Hi, Grandpa. Thank you for being here. It's such a joy to have been able to share these words with you. You're in your 90s, and I'm thrilled. So thank you, Josh, my cousin, for helping you tune in and to watch this. Having you here, you're among the people I wanted most to be here. So thank you. So to everyone else, after interviews with my grandfather. My grandfather was in the Merchant Marines in World War II. Again, he is the boy on the cover, depicted with his sister and parents here. And thank you, Becky, for all your patience, and Jeff too, in putting this design together. It's really special. And this poem is entitled Ulithi, which is a volcanic atoll in the Western Pacific, and it served as a staging area for the US Navy at the end of World War II. And if you Google Maps this atoll, you'll sort of click enter and there'll just be ocean. It'll just be blue. And you have to zoom in and in and in and in to see it. That's sort of how small it is in relation to the ocean, even though once you're there, it's sort of miles across. It's quite a large volcano. So this poem takes place on that atoll. Ulithi. You enjoyed being nowhere. How men were equally small against the merchant ships, small against the Western Pacific. Front lines, you thought, dissolved like salt water to rinse a sore throat. Back and forth, mariners moved with the cargo, though some Navy called you riffraff, draft dodgers. Picture gray masses anchored beneath sun, battle wagons, your cargo vessel. It was beach day. You'd finished wiping your rag over table rims. Ulithi suffered paradise, the islands, the guns. Over the phone, Ulithi sounded like Ulysses, marred by the water, the fish like shrapnel confetti. Below, an oil tanker sunk in the shallows, cracked, twisted, a stunned giant. From satellite mapping, Ulithi's lagoon and islands dotting the rim of an undersea volcano are invisible, such that you might still be drinking those 2 warm beers, might still be 18, looking down through clear water. Study of self-portrait. I hate that I love transformation montages. The Arctic fox sheds its brown fur for the winter promise. Testing the snow, it dives again and again to color beneath. Here is before. Here, fast forwarding to the smile. The actress fills in her brows. She is the artist and the canvas enough to select a new name. We hope we're all as pretty underneath, all American sweethearts. And then do most stop asking, where, soft sirens, are you from? Rita Hayworth never televises her first true makeover. Neither does she pick her name like a fruit. She revises it to her mother's, adding a Y for sounds always intended. Rewind to Margarita Carmen Cancino. Imagine editing yourself. Reconcile that after a hit, they'll still be placed in B movies. You'll still be placed in B movies, that after marrying a prince, you'll still be lonely in crowds. Or rewind the queen of technicolors, Maria Africa Gracia Vidal. Remain, become, remain, become, remain, become. So this next piece is about sort of Maria Montez and my grandmother's connection with her. I have a photo of the actress here. Let's see if we can kind of get that. She's a bit exoticized in the way she has that tiger print behind her. But she has sort of a special connection to my grandmother's story, which you'll find out in the poem. And I believe she was from the Dominican Republic. And here she is, the Queen of Technicolor, 1943. My grandmother is 15, entranced by color. Islanders paddle to shore with loads of papaya, the ocean sweeping the sand, spilling from the screen. All eyes ahead, it's Maria Montez, this time royalty in plumeria headdress. Yellow, coral, violet bloom around her and in her. My grandmother's family changes the spelling of their last name to match Montes to Montez, mountains to mountains. Part of the giantess exists in her. And it's true, it's Celia Montez, like the movie star. Montez, the queen of Technicolor, is always in love, or in the moment right before being in love. With a stern face, my grandmother's mama tells her the queen is not serving her husband enchiladas and beans. She is not telling her children to pray. My grandmother doesn't care. Montez's sleepy eyes call the audience in, and this is her secret. If you were like her, a princess in the tropics, a Persian queen, cobra woman, you'd be in love too, or about to be. For my grandmother, the hum of her Spanish accent under the English words is the fisherman's line in the meet cute. She, like Montez, is home in a paradise from which all colors illumine, sent forth on waves to the shore, to the promenade, to the dance hall, where girls like her wait for their stories to end in a kiss. She will know what happens soon enough. When, at 19, my grandmother will marry Enrique, her last name disappearing in those starry children, chasing one another through their Anaheim motel. She will outlive Montez, who dies in her reducing bath at 39, and she will say her father's name to herself, Pedro Montes, will recall his singing De Colores on the local radio. A few more. I know we're sort of hitting time. We might go a little bit over, so hang in there. This one's called cenote. Cenote, noun, masculine. Tell me about underground lakes in Mexico. The ground sighs into caves and you're there. I kiss my lover's ear, breathe gently into its small darkness. From the grassy edge, we consider the rain. Finger puppet in the likeness of Frida Kahlo. And I actually have said inspiration right here. She was a little dusty on my fridge. Here's Frida. All right. From the pedestal of a hand, she nods. 3 flowers in her hair, red rebozo across her shoulders. Frida, as a finger puppet, speaks to children about beauty. Do they already know what is different about Frida's appearance? She faces the world through the stare in each wounded portrait. A deer saying, pain comes in every color. 2 Fridas in a wash of storm clouds, a woman rooted in recline. The window of her chest delivers a vine and it's reaching toward you. You and I saw animals, and this one is for my sisters. All my family knows that I have 3 sisters, and I am the second one. And I look back on sort of those times growing up, and the days in which the summer seemed to last forever. And this sort of speaks to that a little bit, and also sort of the changing of growing up and becoming, I don't know, maybe more individual. You and I saw animals. 1. Lion summertime swallowed us up year after year. We sisters picked neighbors' apricots, peaches, nectarines. We swung our legs, acrobats on ponies, from pedals to handlebars. We puffed air into the nylon of our swimsuits to make breasts like mermaids, the water holding them up. That was when we started wearing swimsuits. We were wetting our hair in front of our faces, then rolling the damp sheets of it back to look like George Washington's. The hose twirling in the pool until the last warm day had already passed, the water too cold to venture in. We listened to longer books on our parents' bed, illustrated Greek mythology. How silly all those gods and grown-ups, chasing the sun, opening boxes, looking back. Odysseus had built that olive tree bed, each bedpost a growing tree trunk, but Penelope was alone, sleeping on the left or right side, then spread out in the middle. Each night, it was as if we could undo our own weaving. We could start the next day as the last, living it over, perfecting it. It was as easy as unlacing our fingers from one another. While Odysseus was off on one of his promises, we were sure the bed had grown, lifted off the roof. Inside became outside. Animals wandered closer, following light. 3. We thought of Lion's summertime, speckled deer, antsy rabbits, baboons, green parrots, and crows, sidestepping her bed's branches, invisible to the suitors who, to their credit, only saw Penelope. But the crows weren't there for love, just olives which they took in the mornings as they did on our street when the fruit fell purple and fat. Stepping on split olives on bed covers, they made crow's feet all over. This was the story you told me in the attic of our garage. I could feel the spotted fur of the leopard, the feathered necks of flamingos. We were all those animals at once, until you were bored waiting for love. You flew down the attic's drop ladder, leaving me in the rafters. You began to sing. Just 2 more short pieces. This next one's called Some Horses. And while I was at Arizona State, I volunteered through their prison English or prison education program by teaching inmates at Florence Prison, which was, 40-minute drive from the campus. And they had, at the prison, you can kind of see that there's sort of a corral of horses on one side and the prison on the other. And they have a wild horse program there where they domesticate the horses. They teach the inmates how to tame them. And then they offer those wild horses, which are now tame, up for adoption. Some horses. Mustangs stand in the corrals across from the prison grounds. Some sleep. Some wander toward water in the mouths of overturned tires. Nearby, sweet-smelling blocks of hay dry in gated fields, while blackbirds scratch loose straw near the roadside. The inmates learn to approach and gentle the horses. It begins with running the hands along the shoulder, walking beside one another. The man notices what the horse may notice, the sun at their backs, their overlapping shadows. And I will close with the poem that I wrote while I was engaged. And I was, at that time, I guess I believed that I'd be changing my name. And so I was thinking a bit about leaving this name and entering a new one. And I think, Juan Felipe, I was in your class and you were saying, don't you know what your name means? Balde means bucket, branch means Rama. And I was like, oh, I guess I didn't. I didn't never think of that. I'm sure maybe my family had told me before, but I guess I remember that moment too. This is called, well, I didn't end up changing my name, as you can see, but at the time I believed I would. Valentine to the Disappeared. Dearest, the hum of 100 years finds you in the divided flesh of an orange, tracing you back to northern Chihuahua. Once wealthy ancestors are now a caricature of large heads and long legs. They say, even on horses, their feet dragged on the ground. After the revolution, you belonged to fruit pickers, grocers, motel owners. Now there's a judge, a professor, less Chihuahua. Some of us have forgotten how to speak with those dead, which means a boy made to feel ashamed in his learning the language will not learn. He cannot teach his daughters. Now the feeling returns in me for not knowing the words. I am told half of you means bucket, balde. The other means branch, rama, water for grafted trees. I call you little name because you turn invisible in new mouths. Have been spoken by so many you can't be heard anymore. Little name, as myself, I've always been ready to send you away like a nutshell boat weighted down by a pebble into dry stream beds. It is like that with anything built to be given. Thank you so much. I'm going to invite the other panelists to come back on, and I'm going to try to copy and paste the chat so I can see what everyone's been saying.
Yeah, Jackie, I'll save it. I'll save the
Well,
chat.
okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. So everyone, please, please come back, panelists. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us to read with Jackie and to support Jackie and welcome her into the Perugia sisterhood. You have Perugia poets from across the country listening, and to your family, to everyone who's here, to my family, to the large circle of poetry family. Jackie, congratulations. What a beautiful reading, what a beautiful night, what a beautiful book. We're so proud of you and happy with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. It's such a special night. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Tito. Thank you, Juan Felipe, who I think had to leave, but truly special. And thank you, Becky, for guiding me through the creation of this book. Yeah, I'm gonna try to catch any last, oh gosh, Brian Bender, thank you. Stephen White, thanks. A few last messages before we end. This is so nice, so thoughtful. Thank you all so much for coming.
Jackie, beautifully done, like beautiful reading, such a good book, really a big pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you so much for being part of this night. Kicking us off, reading one of my favorite poems too from the book as well. Yeah, beautiful. And I love this. We're so distant, but it feels so warm all at the same time. And you all are across the country. It's amazing.
I'm gonna try to take a screenshot. So I'm gonna say smile and and we're gonna just sort of have this happen. So 1, 2, 3. Just a little bit of a record. I think my husband's also taking some photos too.
Fantastic. Oh, well, thank you everyone for attending and for supporting the press and supporting Jackie and her work. And someone said it's the first of many, or her chapbook last year and now this book, and she's not going anywhere. So we're happy that one of her homes is going to be with us.
Thank you, Becky.
All right, well, you'll have to tell me when you're ready for me to stop videoing, because I have that button.
Yeah, I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay.
I think just trying to keep up with the chat, but I know people have to head out. So thank you so much for coming. And I guess we'll head out too.
Bye, Jackie. Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations.